There you go. Alrighty.
Well, it wouldn't be a webinar
Okay.
without hiccups, right? So here we go.
All right. Thanks, Amy. Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Lemura, and I'm a Senior Product Solution Engineer at Avalara. So the goal today is for me to talk about the automation of consumer use tax with Avalara within the Business Central platform. As we continue on, as we walk through today's presentation, it's important to note that we are providing broad information and not actual legal tax advice. As you can see here on the screen, Avalara was created to alleviate the burden of tax compliance. Okay, and we've been around since 2004. As you can see here, our footprint is across global, and we are supporting customers with every aspect of the sales compliance journey. And how we do that is by assisting our customers with, say, registrations, tax determination and calculations, as well as managing exempt sales and assisting with the filing of returns and the remittances back to the various taxing jurisdictions. So the question that you might be asking yourself is, why is use tax compliance so difficult? And the problem is, in generally speaking, in today's society, it's important to understand that use tax audits might actually be on the rise. So as we focus on strictly the procure to pay side of the fence, it's important for our customers to understand their obligations when engaging with sellers. As you can see on the screen on the left-hand side, where the orange icon is, consumer use tax is a tax owed by a buyer and/or consumer when they are not taxed the full amount of sales tax on a purchase by a seller. Okay. Now, not only is sales tax complicated, but there are many different challenges and complexities when trying to self-assess consumer use tax. So there's a lot on this screen, but there's various things that I want to hone in on. So for example, maybe you as an organization are encountering tax errors on vendor invoices, or maybe you happen to receive vendor invoices from vendors without Nexus, but you as a buyer or consumer know that you have Nexus in a state, or even encounter inventory movement and usage challenges, say if you're in the manufacturing or construction industries. All of these different types of challenges when trying to self-assess consumer use tax can result in the following. It can be very resource intensive, it can be very manual, and it can be very costly. As we move forward and take a look at this slide, you may also further ask yourself the following. When dealing with vendor invoices, are your suppliers charging you even the correct sales tax, or may there be variances? Are you capturing tax overpayments and understanding why a vendor is overcharging you for whatever their case might be? More importantly, are you self-accruing the use tax when suppliers are not charging any sales tax and remitting that portion back to the jurisdiction? When looking and questioning all of these complexities, does any of this now impact your ability to pay the consumer use tax portion back to the jurisdictions in a timely manner? And that's where we want to ask ourselves, can automation help? Now, there are many ways to automate consumer use tax behind the scenes, and that's exactly where Avalara's AvaTax for Accounts Payable comes in. AvaTax for Accounts Payable is a part of the tax engine now within the Avalara portal, and it is a plugin on the back end within Business Central. What Avalara for Accounts Payable can do is it can assist with calculating amounts, informing you whether you have been overcharged or undercharged. Avalara can also handle Canadian PST as well. And now all of this consumer use tax data is now in a centralized place within the Avalara tax engine. This allows for the data to flow across the various other solutions within the Avalara portal, which include your exempt certificates, reports, and returns. As we continue looking at the centralized configurations, Avalara's AvaTax for accounts payable provides a centralized configuration where you can see all of your use tax rules and the configuration settings you have identified by vendor. Our product gives you the tools you need right within the Avalara portal to manage how you want your purchases to be handled and how you want to actually manage use tax. Now let's take a look at what this means and how you can start managing your use tax compliance. On this particular screen, you can see that there is a lot of behind the scenes that is happening within the Avalara portal and how it communicates back and forth with Microsoft Business Central. When you're looking at Business Central, there are various touch points now between Avalara and Business Central that we can assist with, such as the ability for Business Central to call to AvaTax, which is the actual tax engine. Within the tax engine, there is now an additional component called the accounts payable module. That is where you will see in the demonstration exactly how Avalara can assist in all of your purchases. More importantly, Avalara can further assist an organization if you have cross-border obligations, as well as needing assistance with VAT calculations. But furthermore, across this whole entirety, exempt certificate management comes into play, as well as eliminating the hassle of having to prepare, file, and remit sales tax. Avalara has a return service that can help fully automate this entire process. These components now consist of the compliance suite of Avalara products. Now let's take a look here at how AvaTax for accounts payable looks across both Business Central as well as Avalara. As you can see here, I'm inside of the Business Central platform. Avalara by default is natively built in the the Business Central environment. Up at the top here under purchasing, Avalara will be able to assist from the accounts payable side under purchase invoices. As we go ahead, and I've built an example out for today's purposes, I have gone ahead and indicated my vendor. I have furthermore indicated my items and the quantity. Now, behind the scenes, as I just mentioned about the configuration settings, Avalara knows exactly the tax codes that are applied to the item that you've chosen, and Avalara knows if that, in fact, those items are taxable or not. The tax area code is, again, going to be called behind the scenes to Avalara, and that is the engine where it calls directly to the accounts payable module within the portal. Now, as I go ahead to go post this transaction, you will see immediately an alert, and this is indicating now if the vendor has undercharged or overcharged, and by what amount. Clearly, you could see here that the vendor has undercharged tax by $24. And that can mean the following: the vendor didn't charge you any tax. And why might that be the case? Did the vendor not have nexus established in that state where you as a vendor, you as a consumer have nexus? Could it also be for other various reasons? Okay, so as I go ahead to post this actual payable, on the back end system inside of the Avalara portal now is where you can see the granularity. At the top here in the ribbon, there is the payable solution. What you are seeing here on one centralized screen is the following. You will see every doc code that is going to indicate every payable coming in from Business Central, the document date as to when it was posted. Now the status here, there's a lot of built-in vendor logic behind the scenes under the Avalara portal. Understanding, do you want your bills viewed before accruing them? Do you want them auto accrued? Are they exempt? Okay, there's a ton of configuration settings that we will be able to assist you with. But more importantly, when we're looking at each payable, understanding who actually the vendor is. Now, organizations can have thousands of payables. So these are all filtering metrics in which to be able to filter through more thoroughly. The real advantage here is the following columns on the right-hand side. The total amount and Avalara understanding if that in fact is taxable or not comes from the vendor invoice. A vendor, you will have the ability to modify that payable inside of Business Central, knowing on a vendor invoice, did the vendor actually charge you any sales tax or not? So you would be able to put that in inside of Business Central, either $0 if they charged you nothing or an amount that they charged you. But the power of Avalara now comes into the playing field of we calculate the actual tax. We tell you exactly what should have been charged. Is there a variance from what the vendor charged you versus what Avalara calculated? And then the unpaid tax amount now, you as an organization will have the ability to determine what do you wish to do with this amount? Do you want to go ahead and accrue it on your consumer use tax return? Or for whatever reason, do you want to hold it in a holding pattern and ignore it momentarily? As we drill into each payable, you will now start to see the logic and the granularity that Avalara has the ability to assess the actual accrual amount. We always look at a ship from and a ship to and convert that to latitude and longitude coordinates. More importantly, as you scroll down, you will see the jurisdictional breakouts attributed to the ship to address. We will see the rate that Avalara has decided, understanding the taxable piece, the non-taxable piece, and is it exempt? Okay. But more importantly now, you want to see here at a line level exactly how much tax needs to be accrued. But now a further difficulty could be what happens if you receive the goods here, but you have to allocate it now across other various locations. We here natively inside of the product have the ability to add allocation lines. And as long as you have it fulfilled at 100%, you now will be able to go ahead and specify different addresses of where the components of that invoice need to be attributed to. I will go ahead and save the calculation and recalculate. And now you will see here the detailed analysis that Avalara has the ability to do in less than a second, and understanding now, is there a portion of tax that needs to be accrued at these additional jurisdictional breakouts or not? And where does all the jurisdictional tax need to be accrued for and on what return? Natively within inside of the portal here, all of this data will flow to reports and to returns, taking you through the entire compliance suite. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of configuration settings behind the scenes that Avalara can integrate directly with Business Central. But if you would like to speak to us further, by all means, feel free to scan the QR code indicated right here. But more importantly, you will be able to also find us on the App Store, or you can contact us directly at microsoft@avalara.com. I want to thank you all for your time today, and Amy, back over to you.
Thank you so much.